Hello there, and welcome to the show, and today I'm going to be talking about AEW Worlds End. Worlds End was the final pay-per-view event that AEW held in 2024. It was also the second overall Worlds End event. I had zero interest in Worlds End as a show. To me, the build to the show was horrendous. I hate the fact that the Continental Classic is basically just 5 weeks of nothing television. It basically gives Tony Khan an excuse to be lazy because he only has to book wrestling matches with no real storylines. And the Continental Championship, it's been around for a year. And the Continental Championship, we've had some great matches for that championship. However, it has no real identity to it. What is the difference between the Continental Championship and the International Championship? I couldn't tell you. The build to the show was non-existent and not interesting. The most interesting part of AEW going into AEW World's End was the drama involving Rey Fenix and the drama involving Ricky Starks. And with Pentagon Jr. making his WWE debut on Raw, I have a feeling that Rey Fenix is gonna be locked in to that AEW deal for a long, long time. Tony Khan, the petty man that he is not going to let Rey Fenix out of his AEW contract. I want to send a message to Tony Khan before getting into the show. If you have a wrestler who doesn't want to be there, just let them go. AEW has the biggest roster of talent ever, and only 20% of the talent on AEW are being used on a regular basis. If someone doesn't want to be there or hasn't been used in a long time, just release them from their contracts. Anyways, the build to the show was not good. However, the actual show itself was very good. World's End 2024 was infinitely better than World's End 2023. This was a much better show than the one they had in 2023. Let's talk about it. The show started off with the Continental Classic semifinals. Opening match was Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. To me, this was the best match of the night. I enjoyed this a lot more than their match at Full Gear. The fact that it was shorter definitely aided, in my opinion. Also, the finish was a believable finish. This was a very good match. Will Ospreay picked up the win as he should. And like I mentioned, to me, this was match of the night. Second match of the night was Kazuchika Okada versus Ricochet, semifinals match. Ricochet was very much playing a heel during this match. Ricochet would of course go on to turn heel following World's End, starting a feud with Swerve Strickland. This was also a very good match in my opinion. Not as good as Ospreay versus Fletcher, but very good nonetheless. Kazuchika Okada won the match, and we got our finals set between Okada and Ospreay. I do think it's a little stupid that the AEW Continental Champion has to basically defend his championship in the tournament instead of it being vacated or being the actual main prize or something like that. But these two matches were pretty solid and set a nice tone for AEW World's End. Post-match, Swerve Strickland would come out. He brought out a wagon of toilet paper and he handed it to members of the AEW front row, and they threw the toilet paper at Ricochet as he was standing in the ring. That was pretty hilarious in my opinion, and Ricochet's heel turn was executed brilliantly, and I'm interested to see what he and Swerve do on television moving forward. Following the Continental Classic semifinals, we had Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa. This was for the AEW Women's World Championship. This was also a Tijuana street fight. I have no idea where this match was even announced, if the build took place on Collision or Rampage, which no longer exists. This was a fine match. It's great to see Thunder Rosa back on television. She is great, criminally misused, and I would not be surprised if she leaves AEW and joins the WWE at some point. I have a feeling that she would add a lot of value to that women's division because Thunder Rosa is great. Mariah May is also very good, and this was a solid match between the two of them. Mariah May retained the AEW Women's Championship, which was the inevitable outcome. She was not losing to Thunder Rosa, and we are getting that rematch against Toni Storm at Grand Slam Australia. That's where the AEW Women's World Championship is headed. Following that, MJF versus Adam Cole for the AEW Dynamite Diamond Ring. This feud has fallen off a cliff. I could not care any less about MJF versus Adam Cole. I just wanted this feud to be over, but the way this match ended looks like this feud isn't over yet. This was a fine match. MJF is a great wrestler. Adam Cole is a great wrestler. But this storyline has no heat, has no momentum, and zero fan investment at this point. At one point in time, this was the best storyline on AEW television, and now it is ice cold. The Undisputed Kingdom is a failure. No ifs, no ands, no nothings. Undisputed Kingdom is a failure. MJF won this match, this feud, the way the match ended, what happened afterwards with Undisputed Kingdom and Kyle O'Reilly, I'm assuming isn't over, but MJF is now feuding with Jeff Jarrett because I'm assuming Tony Khan thinks a Jeff Jarrett retirement tour is gonna rival a John Cena retirement tour. I don't know what Tony Khan is thinking, but I do not care. One thing I will give Tony Khan credit for, I am very grateful that he didn't put Wardlow back with MJF during this match. That would have completely killed Wardlow's career. I mean, his career is pretty much already dead anyways, but this would have even further buried it. And that's another guy. Wardlow, when his AEW contract is up, I absolutely see him leaving. I could easily see him joining WWE or TNA. Konosuke Takeshita versus Powerhouse Hobbs. This was for the AEW International Championship. I have no memory of this match even being announced, but this was a very good match. Konosuke Takeshita is a great wrestler. I've stated this, that he and Will Ospreay from Revolution was the best match AEW had in all of 2024. This is the best match Powerhouse Hobbs has had since his match against Miro from All Out 2023. This was a great match, but what does it mean? Where does Powerhouse Hobbs go from here? I mean, he lost to Jon Moxley on Dynamite. Konosuke Takeshita as the AEW International Champion. AEW is teasing a feud with the Kenny Omega, which doesn't make sense. This was a good match, but again, what does it mean? There is no story. Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander for the TBS Championship. This was a rematch from Full Gear, and this was really good. Mercedes and Chris are very good wrestlers, and they produced another very good match in my opinion. Mercedes retained the TBS Championship. I have no idea when Chris Statlander seemingly turned face, or where Stokely Hathaway is, but I guess that's just another thing that Tony Khan seemingly forgot about. Our semi-main event for the Continental Championship, Kazuchika Okada defending against Will Ospreay. These two have a storied history from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and these two produced a very good match. Arguably, second best match of the night, behind Ospreay Fletcher. This was an incredible match. Will Ospreay, in my opinion, is the best in-ring performer on the planet today. Kazuchika Okada, he is great. They produced a very good match. I 100% would have put the championship on Will Ospreay. Kazuchika Okada, he's been the AEW Continental Champion since March. I was there when he won the championship. This Elite storyline with the Elite trying to take over was a failure. Kazuchika Okada retaining this match and Kenny Omega making his return to AEW television to hand him the Continental Championship and them staring down, teasing a match at All In is a horrible idea in my opinion. First of all, let's backtrack a little bit. Kenny Omega goes away in November 2023 to deal with diverticulitis. He makes his return to AEW in May of 2024 in his hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. He is interrupted by Kazuchika Okada. Jack Perry attacks him from behind, and then he's attacked by the Young Bucks, Okada, and Perry in the ring and backstage as he's being stretchered into an ambulance. Jack Perry then, a few weeks later, cuts a promo on Kenny Omega's birthday, and he's dumping intestines on a birthday cake to mock Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega makes his return to professional wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling to build a match against Gabe Kidd for Wrestle Dynasty. The Young Bucks are booked on that show, challenging for the IWGP World Tag Team Championships, and they did not even reference or hint at this storyline. Kenny Omega returning to AEW should be after revenge against the Elite, the Young Bucks, Jack Perry, and Okada. Following World's End, for whatever reason, Kenny Omega has resumed his feud with Don Callis. How does that make any sense to anyone? Now, don't get me wrong, Kenny Omega and Don Callis, I enjoyed that storyline. However, what sense does it make when he should be feuding with the Elite? Furthermore, why would we wait until All in July to have Omega versus Okada for the Continental Championship? Wouldn't Kenny Omega want to face Okada immediately? Why would he wait almost 7 months for it? This is what I would have done. Wrestle Dynasty, after the Young Bucks won the IWGP Tag Team Championships, Kenny Omega comes out, confronts the two of them, and he says something along the lines of, "I haven't forgotten." And on Dynamite, he's feuding with Okada and Perry. A match against Jack Perry at Grand Slam Australia, and challenging Okada for the Continental Championship at Revolution. Basically a hit list, going after members of the Elite. But instead, we're getting this convoluted storyline. I have no idea what they're gonna do with Kenny Omega on Dynamite. Kazuchika Okada, I have no idea what they're gonna be doing with this guy until All In, where he's presumably gonna drop the Continental Championship to Kenny Omega. And Will Ospreay is seemingly still stuck in this Don Callis feud. I don't know, but we'll see how this plays out. Main event for the AEW World Championship, which has not been seen since October. Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy, Jay White, and Hangman Adam Page. Before we get into this match, let's go back a little bit. Full Gear, Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy in the main event. Very good match. The ending and everything that happened post-match, complete nonsense. The Death Rider storyline, I was willing to give it a chance when it first started, but now, 4 months in, I am completely over this storyline. The Death Rider storyline is a failure. It is a failure. This storyline makes no sense. What is the mission statement of the Death Riders? Why are they doing what they are doing? They want to reshape AEW. They don't like the current way AEW is. Me neither! But this Death Rider storyline legitimately is change the channel garbage. And that pains me to say. Moxley is great. Claudio is great. Pac is great. Wheeler Yuta is very good. Marina Shafir is garbage. This storyline has done nothing to enhance AEW television. The storyline hasn't built anyone up on AEW television. There are no stakes. Whenever Jon Moxley's theme song, that opening guitar riff hits, even though I love that song, I legit do not care. I don't care. Looking back at it, I would have booked Hangman Adam Page versus Bryan Danielson at Wrestle Dream. I would have had Hangman win the world title. I would have had Jon Moxley and the rest of Blackpool Combat Club turn on Danielson at the end of Wrestle Dream in his hometown to write him off of television. And I would have had Hangman and Swerve continue their feud for the World Championship going into World's End. Done a rematch at Full Gear, maybe take it all the way into Revolution. The Death Rider storyline is a failure. This match for the World Championship was a fine match. I mean, all 4 participants are really good, so it was not gonna be a bad match. Jon Moxley retains. No one was expecting him to lose the championship. FTR come out. And then Adam Copeland makes his return to AEW television after sustaining a leg injury at Double or Nothing against Malachi Black, who is another guy on his way out the door. And you know what? Good for him. Adam Copeland, who I am not gonna call Cope. That was, I don't know why they thought changing his name from Adam Copeland to Cope would be a good idea, but that is horrible. I am not calling him Cope. To me, he is Adam Copeland, and he will always be Edge. But in AEW, Adam Copeland. That is what I'm gonna call him. Rated FTR come out. They attack the Death Riders, and Adam Copeland versus Jon Moxley has been the AEW World Championship feud for the last couple of weeks on AEW television, to which we are presumably getting a match at Revolution for the World Championship. Adam Copeland cut a promo following his return at World's End, and he said, "We're taking it all." AEW has been pushing Darby Allin as the guy to defeat Jon Moxley, the way television has been playing out. Darby Allin is great, but he is not the guy that should end this storyline, and it should not happen at All In. This is how I would end the Death Rider storyline right now. I think we gotta call a failure and just cut our losses. This is what I do. Revolution, opening match, Death Riders versus Rated FTR. 4-on-3 for the Trios Championships. Rated FTR win. Dax, Cash, and Adam Copeland are the new World Trios Tag Team Champions. And Adam Copeland pins Jon Moxley in that match. Main event for the World Championship. Jon Moxley versus Adam Copeland. Have them go 20-30 minutes, and then Christian Cage comes out, cashes in his contract for a World Championship match on the anniversary of where he made his debut, because Christian Cage made his AEW debut at Revolution 2021. I have Christian cash in, pin Adam Copeland to become the new AEW World Champion, and then have Christian versus Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing at All In. Christian Cage versus Adam Copeland for the AEW World Championship. That is where I take the storyline. If I'm Tony Khan, I am ending this Death Rider storyline as soon as possible. It is a failure. No one cares. It is garbage. The Fatal 4-Way match to end World's End was inconsequential. And this feud with Adam Copeland, personally, I thought it would be a lot more interesting than it's playing out on TV. Overall, AEW World's End was a lot better show than it was in 2023. As an overall wrestling show, this was a very good show. AEW does not produce bad wrestling. They have a great in-ring product. However, their lack of storytelling is what's killing the company. That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. You can follow me on Instagram at Saeed_2000, and I will see you on the next video. Till then, take care.